All right. Good morning, Patriots. It is Memorial Day. Hope a lot of you guys are out there getting your day off. This is Memorial Day. It's not the same as Veterans Day, right? This is not the time, veterans, to go out there and demand free food at random restaurants. Our time will come. 11/11, baby. It's not that far off. You can hold out till then. I know you're hungry, but that day is not this day. All right. I see Sergeant Major joins us in the chat, and Fish and Golf drew first blood. And back from a long sabbatical, we have Mario joining us this morning. How you doing, brother?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, veterans.
That's a great T-shirt.
Today is not your day. You survived. Praise be to God. So, yes, I've been gone for 3 weeks has it been? So, so those of you wondering, no, I did not have a dramatic falling out. Okay, with Chris, we didn't get into a huge fight. All right, I simply had
You didn't steal my weed eater.
Didn't steal his weed eater. Might have commandeered the tractor, but I couldn't figure out the transmission on it, so I just left it. But no.
Yeah, don't even get me started on my damn tractor. I was supposed to have my tractor a month ago. We'll be talking in the next few days about why you should never, ever, ever do any kind of business whatsoever with Carvana.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Chris has larger automotive issues right now than a tractor. So, but I had my brother visited me for 2 weeks. Then I had my children here for 2 weeks, and then I went to a business travel in Ohio. But I am back. I wouldn't say bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm gonna have to get used to this 7:30 crap again. But I'm here for your viewing pleasure.
Sergeant Major asks, by the way, how is his weed eater doing? It's doing just fine. So, it is Memorial Day. And y'all, I don't know, about 2-3 years ago, I used to go to all the Veterans Day, Memorial Day, that kind of stuff, services at one of the American Legion posts, either in Conyers, Georgia, or Loganville. Got a lot of friends in both those places. I'm not doing that today because my in-laws are in town and it's a long drive. But a couple years ago, I'm a personality. I'm not just somebody at these places. I get called up on the stage to give a little speech, and I was asked to give a presentation on the POWMIA empty table and to discuss for the families. So you had, American Legion, of course, there's veterans there, but they bring their families. And, like my family, everybody's a veteran, right? Except for my mother. And she's my mother was a quintessential Army wife. I say quintessential Army wife. When Dad was Sergeant Major running business up at Fort Knox, like one of our main basic training facilities is at Fort Knox. Ma used to go on Sundays and feed and feed the soldiers in basic who were going to church on Sunday. She'd take them pound cakes, homemade pound cakes. Mario, can you imagine what it would have been like in basic at Fort Lost in the Woods if Sergeant Major Steele's wife was just bringing us fatty cakes on the weekends? I mean, I kind of feel like I got cheated. In fairness, I grew up with those pound cakes. I know. But I had to go to the Buddhist service to get a candy bar.
Believe it or not, I've actually had your mother's pound cake. Okay. And I think she's defying the laws of physics given how much butter is packed into that delicious bread. I'm not sure how that's even done.
It's kind of outrageous.
It is kind of outrageous. Okay. It seems like alchemy. But delicious.
Now, just imagine being one of the drill sergeants that's trying to work all that butter off your privates every week. I need a status report, drill sergeant. Sergeant Major, I'm trying, but your wife keeps coming out and buttering my privates, and they can't hold on to a rope. They can't get up a climbing wall. and Sergeant Major says he's having some for breakfast. Yeah, Mom made one the other day that we had with strawberries and cream, whipped cream. Yeah.
You're telling me you do it with strawberries and clotted cream too? Now that's truly outrageous. That's oh my God. Might want to monitor your blood sugar after that one.
Oof. I do, actually.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, today's Memorial Day. Levity aside, there is some serious stuff to talk about. What are we? We're not really celebrating on Memorial Day. We're memorializing. We're remembering. We're paying tribute and honor to those who've come before us, to those who've fallen. Mario's a veteran. His father's a veteran. His brother's a veteran. I'm a veteran. My father, my brother, my grandfathers, my father-in-law. It is the family. It's the family tradition for the Lowrys. We've put blood on every battlefield in U.S. history. It's what we do.
Same for my family, and yes, my mother, quintessential Navy wife. Very, very similar. Mm-hmm. Very similar family dynamic.
A Navy wife is a lot like an Army wife, but with more mimosas.
Yes. Daily mimosas. But yeah, my pretty much my entire childhood, like the first third of my father's naval career, he was deployed 6 months out of the year on various ships around the world. So my mom held down Casa Romano while my father was away, and she did a wonderful job. But we're not here to talk about my mom.
No, but you know what? Respect.
Oh, I just noticed something. I've been gone for like 3 weeks, and the first thing that Sergeant Major has to say to me is remind me of how unsat my haircut is. Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. Let me just enjoy the last of my midlife crisis. Okay. I'll come back. Okay. The prodigal son will return. Okay.
So what do we have? Memorial Day.
Slides. Right. I love slides.
Indeed. So, it's been a long road, guys. We're going to cover several of the major conflicts this morning. We're not going to go into detail about the history of the individual wars. We're going to summarize. I want to put this in perspective for you. Okay. So, Civil War. We've got KIA approximately somewhere between 620,000 and 750,000 million. But these numbers are estimates. When you go back to the Civil War, you're trying to tabulate losses. This is the Civil War, right? There were no computers. It's
there were units that
it's hard to get a good count. The numbers could be double that.
There were units that were so hastily conscripted, okay, and slapped together, and then sent out to battle, and then effectively disappeared, okay, along with records and everything. Like there are units that simply cease to exist,
right?
If you can believe that. But yeah,
there are units that we only know about because another unit, a soldier from another unit, mentioned encountering them on the battlefield in one of their letters home, but there's no other record.
Especially in some of the more Western campaigns, okay?
Correct.
Most of the war was fought on the East Coast, okay? But some like Kansas, Missouri, out there, the Western, they simply ceased to exist, or logistically were not supplied, or never got message back. And they're just gone. Some of them probably integrated with the Native Americans and just got absorbed into that, got absorbed by that biomass. But yes.
missing in action. So the number of soldiers missing in action in the Civil War are very poorly documented for the same reason, and so it's difficult to go. It's difficult to pull those numbers together, but you're going to be shocked when we talk about the total number of historically of U.S. MIA POW. So that brings us next to World War One.
Well, let me mention one thing about the Civil War. This was the bloodiest war in American history as far as loss of U.S. soldiers, right? And it was a portent of the horrors that would come in World War One, as this is the first major war where the belligerents had rifled barrels, okay, which dramatically increased the accuracy of the weapons, all right, and they were still using tactics more associated with, say, the Napoleonic warfare, regimental style maneuver warfare, okay, where groups of men march together much like hoplites, okay, and basically broadside each other with the salvos of their weapons, all right. With previous technology, in the absence of rifling, these weapons were largely inaccurate, so you did have to volley fire. All right, with rifled weapons, they effectively turned into basically an absolute murder machine. All right, with men being cut, regiments being cut down where they stood within seconds. Okay, as we said, about entire units basically disappearing. So, a horrific war, and I don't think Hollywood has really done justice as far as Civil War combat. Okay, the movie Glory is pretty good. Okay, but other than that, I can't recall any great like war epics regarding the Civil War. Can you?
I have not watched a lot of Civil War films, so I really don't have. I'm really not prepared to comment
I know
on that.
Ken Burns made a huge documentary on it. I haven't watched that. Maybe that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
But other thing, I really hope that they still use a Red Badge of Courage. Okay, as far as public school curriculum, I doubt it. I'm sure it's another a book written by white people. We don't need that. But yeah, Red Badge of Courage. You read it when you were a child. Yep. Reread it sometime. It's actually it's a good novel, and you'll catch things in it that you did not catch when you were a child. But it is probably the best depiction of the Civil War for the average reader.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. No, Aaron, this is not a deep dive. Okay, deep dives are for Saturday night. I will try to restrain myself. Okay.
Yeah, y'all make sure you're here this upcoming Saturday for the deep dive, because we got Mario back. So you're not gonna have to sit there and suffer through my my esoteric pontifications on Kierkegaardian philosophy and Nietzschean will to power again. Yet. We are going to do one of those where we go into philosophy stuff with Mario on here, and those are going to be good too. But so prisoners of war, World War One, approximately 4,100 prisoners of war. I'm gonna move through the slides kind of quick, because we really just want to summarize the. That slide was supposed to have been deleted. Okay, that brings us up to World War II, and of course, I had to use this image. I mean, what more iconic image is there? Prisoners of war, 130,000. That's 130,000 POWs. That's not casualties. Mm-hmm. That's POWs. Many of whom were never returned. Right? When we talk about when you see the flag that says POW/MIA, you are not forgotten.
Not just Vietnam.
Understand that a lot of those numbers, a lot of those men are POW/MIA because we simply do not know what happened. Right? Being MIA, missing in action, does not guarantee that man was not a POW, right? They're not exclusively distinct categories, and that's why the flag is for POW/MIA, because many of the soldiers that fall into either of those categories actually fall into both. Uh, World War II, MIA, 73,000, right? So you've got almost 250,000 missing in action and POWs just from World War II. And of course, we're talking World War II. It's been 80 years since the end of World War II. Is that right? Good God,
Yep.
yeah.
80 years.
So the likelihood that any of these POW/MIA are still alive is slim to none. But, we do not list them as KIA because their eventual fates are completely unknown.
Correct.
So we can safely assume that the POWs and MIA from World War II, and really from Vietnam to a lesser extent as well, World War II, Vietnam, and Korea to a greater or lesser extent, those that are unaccounted for are more than likely have more than likely passed away at this point, and that's a very tough pill to swallow. That is among a list of reasons that we have a Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, because we don't know what happened to everybody. Not everybody comes back even in a body bag. That's one of the real horrors and tragedies of war, is that you might not even come back dead.
It's pretty I find it strange that there would be that many missing in action and prisoners of war unaccounted for from World War II, because that was okay, not really. It's probably more on the Japanese side, okay, where soldiers, because the Germans, say what you want, they were pretty decent as far as how they treated American prisoners of war, okay, less so with the Polish, and much less so with the Russians, of course.
Yeah.
But they treated American POWs with some respect. You get your piece of bread and some soup, okay, which is better than we did for them in a lot of instances, okay. But yeah, how would they have disappeared at the end of a war, which was a total defeat? Okay, I'm guessing they just disappeared. Okay, some of them quite likely were killed by the Army Air Corps as they were indiscriminately bombing the German countryside, basically any target whatsoever. So we probably friendly fired a lot of those guys. And then how many men gang pressed in the Burmese jungles? Like, think of the movie like The Bridge Over the River Kwai. Okay, that's an unaccountable casualty machine. All right, those type of public works projects that the Japanese were running in in occupied China. So anyway,
so moving on to the Korean War, and Hanbuk Chongcheng Etehan.
It's okay. They don't pay you to speak it anymore, Chris. You don't have to.
You're correct. You're correct. But even the Korean War, there are still 8,000 missing in action. And a little perspective for you guys. When we talk about MIA, this isn't 8,000 people were missing in action at the end of the Korean War and we recovered them all. No. There are 8,000 U.S. military men missing in action from the Korean War.
And a lot of those guys actually were prisoners of war that were never returned. Okay,
Correct.
I remember in the 80s. Okay, there being like some instances where basically some old man got released by the North Koreans, right? And it's like an 80-year-old man in the 1980s who had been there for 30 years, like in captivity.
Yeah.
North Koreans would do some weird shit. Like they would involve them in breeding programs to create Hapas that they would use to infiltrate the South Korea. Okay, just like and also,
I mean, North Koreans, guys. Kim Jong Un, the brilliant comrade, the current ruler of North Korea, like shortly after Kim Jong Il passed away and Kim Jong Un took over the control. There were some loyalists from the previous regime, generals that Kim Jong Un wanted to get rid of because he was concerned that they would undermine his handover and his authority, that they were going to try to power grab in the vacuum there. And he basically took them into public arenas with, mandatory attendance by the entire local population in Pyongyang, and set dogs on them, fed them to dogs.
Yeah.
One of them, he walked out into a big open space and just dropped the bomb on him.
Well, it's a family tradition, Kim Jong Un's favorite execution method is to cut people down with anti-aircraft guns that are tilted to horizontal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
20 millimeter cannons.
Yeah, a battery of 20 millimeter cannons.
At least it's quick. I mean, what can you say?
To the center mass. So Vietnam War, that's the one that we have mythologized the Vietnam War in cinema more than any other.
Can I say one more thing about the Korean War?
Please do.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of those missing in action, all right, those are guys. So it seems that every time we go to whenever we go to war, okay, there's usually like a worst winter on record. You know what I mean? Like that year, it's happened multiple times. World War II, all right, some of the coldest winters on record, and same for the Korean War, right? There are thousands of men basically who were lost beneath the frozen wastelands of North Korea, all right, and I'm sure. It really would be interesting to see what would happen if, like, let's say we had a lasting peace and diplomatic exchange and, normal relations, right, with North Korea. Okay. I guarantee the United States Army would be sending whatever units are responsible for like going out and like excavating, okay, and looking for remains of U.S. soldiers. That we do have those units. I think they're part of the Army Corps of Engineers. Okay, it would be interesting to see like the site surveys that they would conduct and basically all the traces of human remains that they would probably find, especially around the Chosun Reservoir, which was basically was a frozen murder machine. Thousands of men buried below the ice almost certainly could be discovered. So anyway, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. So
here, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. I'm listening and I can still speak.
Understood. So
I don't have the foresight to put a whole pot next to me before the show like you.
I actually didn't this morning. I'm running low on coffee too. I may have to let you take over in a minute. Like I was saying, the Vietnam War is the one that we have that most Americans are most familiar with historically, because it's the one that is most mythologized in popular cinema and media. There have been a few films about specific battles in the Gulf War and surrounding the capture of Bin Laden, but out of the Vietnam War, of course, we got MASH from the Korean War. But out of the Vietnam War, you've just got so many movies. You've got Full Metal Jacket. You've got it was just very much a part of the public consciousness with the hippie movement, the peaceniks, and all that. But from in that war, there were 58,000 killed in action.
It's the first war live on television. Well, not necessarily live, but it's the first war the United States conducted with like the full apparatus of the modern media being available.
Yes. But less than 800 POWs. Now, don't get me wrong. 800 is a lot of POWs. MIA 1,600, and because of the nature of the Vietnam War, there's a high degree of probability that a large number of those MIA are in fact prisoners of war, not just missing in the woods somewhere. So yeah, that brings us to the Gulf War. Now, this one,
Santa Stevens says The Deer Hunter. Yep, and Apocalypse Now, and Platoon.
Sergeant Major mentions Platoon.
No shortage of great.
Correct.
I mean, we are we're spoiled, okay, for like
Good morning, America.
fantastic film. Really, yeah,
Good
fantastic
morning.
films
Good
related
morning,
to the Vietnam
Vietnam.
War. Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So we come forward to the Gulf War, and casualties, POWs, MIAs dropped off sharply in this war for so many reasons, not least of which, only a little less than 400 killed. And I don't mean to minimize the losses of those individuals, but this is going to lead us into the rest of the topic for the show this morning. Casualties are different now. Our war machine as Americans has become incredibly efficient, and that will serve us well going forward, especially not to get too far off topic, but considering that Gen Alpha is only about 40 million people, whereas the boomers were 80 million. These numbers are going to matter for the continuity and preservation of the American spirit, the American Constitution, the American way of life. Right? There were very few POWs from the Gulf War, and nearly all of them were returned safely at the end of the conflict. Same thing with MIA. Very few MIA, and a lot of this has to do also with, as much as I detest the bureaucracy and the paper shuffling, good records keeping does help solve this problem. Good records keeping improves accountability, and accountability is how you prevent MIA, how you keep that from happening.
Well, it's also the Gulf War, aka Iraq War One. That was the first war with the mass deployment of overhead collection capabilities. Okay, so
Correct.
Basically the communication levels on the battlefield were unprecedented, and that's part of the reason. The communications, okay, were part of the reason why there's so few casualties and so few men went missing. All right, because you could find them. You could find them anywhere. So,
yeah, and I hate the battle buddy system is no shit another major contributor to that.
It seems silly, but it is.
It does. It sounds silly. It sounds goofy and lame when you first get hit with it in TRADOC and training and indoctrination and basic combat training, and you have to have a battle buddy. It sounds like, man, I'm a grown ass man. I don't need somebody to walk around and hold my dick for me. No, but you know what you do need? You need somebody to hold your rifle while you go use the porta potty. You need somebody to watch what's happening when a drill sergeant jumps up your ass to make sure everybody acts right, so that nobody gets to lie about what happened. The battle buddy system, and even all that sounds like, well, we could all just be adults. Yeah, okay.
Nope, we can't.
Go on foot patrol without a battle buddy, son. Try that one time.
And I will add, a grown up babysitting service, it's actually effective for that too. Okay, in my younger days in the Army, if I got to drinking, okay, Mario did need an escort. Okay.
There are some moments, Mario, that are burned into my memory.
Yeah, there's I can count at least 3 times Chris's intervention prevent me from ending up in cuffs.
Mario, you're 15 minutes late. The battalion commander is waiting. Did you smoke all the way? I was already late, drill sergeant.
No, I mean like beer fest. Beer fest.
Oh God,
beer fest. Two young men in their prime were doing like a 2-mile run to the next bar with 10 drinks apiece in us already. Like we were built different then. We were built different.
2-mile run in 2-mile
run.
Flip
flops.
Flip flops with PBRs in our cargo shorts pockets.
Yeah, with tall boys.
with a 6-pack of tall boy PBRs on each of us, not between us. Three on each hip, like bandoliers of bullshit. So the Iraq War, 4,500 KIA. This was a serious conflict, right? The POWs, however, not so much, right? Not so much. And same thing with MIA. So as we get into the later conflicts, the more recent conflicts, we see a dramatic sharp drop off in POWs and MIA. But that doesn't diminish that we had legitimate casualties. And then there's the war in Afghanistan.
Who's that good-looking young soldier?
That's this is the one that I was at. And hey, Mario, can you explain to the audience what that is in the center of my chest?
Is that the laser pen thingy that you use to?
No.
You talk about your.
That is a single round of 50 of
Oh yeah,
50 caliber. Well, and do you know why? Do you know why I would have one just on my body armor like that?
No, I imagine it was for. Don't tell me you stabbed someone with it.
No, hell no.
Okay.
No. You're right. You in this picture you can barely see it up at the top. There's a Crows, a common remote operated weapon station on top of my truck here. And I had a Maud Deuce mounted on my Crows. So what would happen when I jump up to load the machine gun, you throw a belt in the machine gun, and then you pull up a second belt, and you've got one round right here. So instead of having to pull a round out and then slide it back in for the linkage to connect the two belts together, I pull up the next belt, right, and I just pull the one off my chest and put them together
and connect it with a round. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's smart. I was never really proficient with that weapon.
It saved me a good 5 seconds on setting up the machine and having it put rounds into the enemy.
It's kind of a pain to do, but I guess with meat wall hands, everything's easy.
Yeah,
but yeah, I was never proficient with the modules.
Just a little piece of trivia. This thing on my body armor right here, on the right side. You can't see my pointer. So there's this thing, on the left side of my chest. That's a seatbelt cutter and glass breaker.
Yep.
And that bad boy is zip tied to the oh shit handle in my pickup truck today. that one.
I keep one in the truck as well, just because it's like, well, this is actually a great piece of equipment the Army gave me. This is smart.
Yeah. Thank you, Uncle Sam. Thank you, Army. Thank you, 500th MI. You know what? Real quick. Let me go back to that image real quick. I'll tell you a war story. You see the flag on my shoulder is the depressed black and white IR patch flag. I ran into a captain downrange. And he was he wasn't a ranger. He was some kind of special forces guy. And this was after the 10th Mountain guys ripped in and took over from the 101st. And homeboy in uniform downrange had like the standard red, white, and blue with the yellow border, right? The patch that we wear when we're back in garrison.
Yeah.
And some NCO was jumping up and down on him about the flag on his shoulder, and he gave this whole speech to the guy about, I'm an American. This is the American flag. This is the flag that I wear into combat. And I thought to myself, if you're gonna stand on them, I guess you stand on them. But this is war where people will shoot at you if you look different. You don't want to be the guy with 6 foot of antenna sticking up off your backpack, right? You don't want to be the one Army soldier in the Army digital camo pattern uniform walking with a bunch of Marines in their frogman suits. You don't want to be the guy that stands out and looks different. That's a good way to get shot. When I got to Bagram, and they told us that they were enforcing drill and ceremony standards, and so you're going to pop your salute and render honors whenever you pass an officer. And Bagram was just swarming with officers because there was a lot of command structure there. So you're walking, you try to walk from a chow hall to the PX, and you're morning, sir, morning, sir, morning, sir, morning, sir. And I'm like, do we just not like our officers? Is that because the sniper's not looking for somebody who throws a salute?
I got one worse
looking
for
for
you.
somebody who returns one.
I got something worse for you. They made us wear our sexy belts in Iraq. I shit you not.
Oh shit!
So that we can see each other at night. It's great. I know. We thought the same thing. In fact, we never got over it an entire year there. We're like, I still can't believe I'm wearing this. Oh well.
Only the Air Force wore the sexy belts at Bagram. That was and that okay.
Army strong. Okay. Army strong.
Yeah, Army strong. So, excuse me, the war in Afghanistan. Again, a very small handful, mostly recovered. Same with MIA, mostly recovered. That was a conflict where we didn't have the losses to the same degree. We still had a lot of casualties. We still had a few thousand casualties, but not so much the MIA and the POW. So something we do. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention a key thing here. In the global war on terror, the casualty rates, so the KIA numbers decreased dramatically, all right, given the availability of medevac, okay? And this is the whole pipeline set up to get critical soldiers who need critical surgery, okay? Like get them to Germany, all right, like overnight, okay?
Yeah.
And basically huge advances in getting people off the battlefield and in the availability of medical care downrange. All right. So fewer people died. The issue is that you have a far greater numbers of people who are coming back who are injured. Okay. So you have a lot more injured veterans in modern warfare than you would in previous wars. So
right. Well, in the Civil War, if you got a leg blown off, you're done.
I mean,
right.
if you survive infection, yeah, you'll make it. But yeah, it's pretty.
Whereas in modern warfare, every private has a tourniquet.
Yep.
As a pre-made, like legit tourniquet. I mean, we all know how to take our belt off and use our rifle or our survival knife or whatever we have to do to twist it down and make a functioning tourniquet. We get the basic first aid. All our soldiers get the basic first aid training. And Mario, you remember this? You probably remember this. We were doing a basic battlefield first aid training with Drill Sergeant Klaus at Bravo Company, and he asked the assembled privates, so what's the first thing you do when you're dealing with casualties, right? Let's assume the gunfight's over, right? And that the first thing you do when you have a casualty in a gunfight is you return fire. You forget about the casualty, you return fire. You eliminate the enemy first, and then you take care of your battle buddy. All right, drag him to cover if you can, but you return fire. And if he can get himself to cover, you rely on that. But once that's all said and done, what's the first thing you do to take care of your battle buddy? And somebody said, you send a runner. Correct. You send a runner to get help. And then Klaus said, so who do you send? Right. And somebody responded, well, you send the fastest runner. And Klaus said, that's right. You send Lowry. And I thought it was a stupid joke. Everybody else laughed. We all laughed at the stupid joke. You send Lowry because I'm 6.5 feet tall, 300-pound monstrosity. And then Klaus looks at the skinny guy who's the fastest runner in the company. He says, oh, yeah?
200
How
pounds
fast can you run in full battle rattle? How fast can you run in body armor with your rucksack on and your rifle? And that was a big moment for me. That was oh yeah, you skinny little bitches only run that fast because you're almost naked. Gotcha.
Yep. Well, you got never mind. It was a brief aside about the two types of special forces soldiers that you normally see. You got so the two types, all right. One is the basically the 6 foot plus, all right, 250-pound minimum weapons platforms. Okay, these are the Chris Lowry body types. Okay, and then the other type of special forces soldier you'll see is the opposite. All right, they're like 5'9", 5'10". All right, they're skinny. All right, super wiry, super strong. All right, and they basically look like a skeleton that's had multiple stakes like stapled all over them
Yes.
to them. Okay, like 0% body fat, people who are fleet of foot like you wouldn't believe. Okay, so
yeah. Okay, so moving on. Sergeant Major asked about this, and so I'm going to play the video. And this was actually put up by USAA several years ago, and they did a great job with it. I don't know that I could do better. Damn, this is 11 years ago they put this up.
Freedom's call is demanding. It comes too often and asks much. At times, it demands all. One way we consider that call and the sacrifice of those who have answered is through the setting of the missing man table. This table, while often used to remember our POWs and MIAs, also pays homage to all who did not return. We remember our fallen this way today. The table is round to show our everlasting concern. The cloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives while answering the call. The single red rose represents the blood that was shed and the lives lost in that service. It also represents the family and friends who keep the faith. A yellow ribbon, for the yellow ribbons worn by those who remember and never forget. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of the bitterness of our loss. A portion of salt, a reminder of the tears shed. A lighted candle reflects our ongoing hope. An inverted glass. We can no longer share a toast. The chair is empty. Our companions are no longer present.
oh man.
Yeah, go ahead and bring the camera back, brother. That's
Yeah, Sergeant Major, me too. It gets you a little misty-eyed. It's a powerful ceremony. It is, very much so. I remember seeing that my very first Army ball as a private, and I'm like, wow, that's poignant. I respect that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the first time I saw it at the Army ball, I think it was the same Army ball actually.
Probably, yep.
2000 and 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2006 or 7. I wasn't ready for that at the Army ball. It was made you want to ask the question, why didn't you make a handkerchief part of the military uniform? So that's what we remember today is our lost in action, our MIA, our POWs, our KIA, our proud warriors that didn't make it home. Now, today, we're moving into 5th and likely even reasonable to say we should start talking about sixth generational warfare.
AI warfare.
Fifth generational, say again.
Sixth generation would be AI.
Yes, that's like I said. We should be talking about moving into that direction because, Jesus. Sergeant Major says try reading that in Army formal. Yeah.
Yep. I'd need a double shot of something before I did that because I got to maintain my diction.
Yeah, I worked. I did the funeral detail for a while. At Goodfellow.
Okay.
And I folded dozens of flags and did the 21 gun salute many times. And those were mostly, I mean, Goodfellow. That usually wasn't somebody being brought back in a bag from downrange. That was usually, the old soldiers that were not KIA, MIA, POW, just they were veterans. They were old soldiers.
Yep.
And, they came home, they finished their tour of duty, lived out their lives, and then left a widow for me to hand a flag to. And even then, that shit's hard. That shit's very hard.
Have you ever done a ceremony at the Punch Bowl in Hawaii?
No.
Okay. I did that. Basically, funeral service for a veteran who died of old age.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's one of those things where it's when you do a ceremony like that. That I'm not really. I was never, whether I enlisted as as a private, as special NCO, whatever. Okay, I was never a huge stickler on basically like you're basically looking at someone's uniform and being like, oh, this is slightly off. This, you know what I mean? I wasn't. I was pretty chill about that. But when you do a ceremony like that, then you're like, okay, no, I have to look perfect. Okay, everything has to look perfect. All right, out of respect for the individual that we're doing the ceremony for. You know what I mean? So that's when I finally got it. Like as a sergeant, sadly, the importance of drill and ceremony. It's out of respect for precisely those people, precisely the people that we've lost. So, yeah. Anyway, just brief tangent. Oh, Chris is going to get coffee or something. It looks like it is the Mario show. Okay. Well, so we are going to talk briefly, I suppose, about modern warfare. Okay, where we're going now. Okay, where the battlefield is essentially digital. You have AI is going to become artificial intelligence is going to become increasingly important in the years going forward, and it is going to be as destructive across multiple industries as the invention of the telephone or television was. Okay, or the internet, of course. So as we're moving into this new information,
it's the next Gutenberg revolution.
Yes, as we move into this new information revolution. Okay, let's talk about that. Basically, everything is connected. Everything is political, and could be viewed as basically a daily war, trying to function as a biological, organic human being. Okay, whose heart beats bright red blood. All right, in a world where everything is becoming increasingly artificial and contrived. So, yeah, that's trying to segue us into there, Chris.
Yeah, and the casualties of this new warfare, of the fifth generational information warfare and the sixth generational AI warfare that we're looking at, these casualties will look very, very different.
Yep.
For one, you talk about the guys that don't really come back. They're alive. They get on the bird. They fly home. We meet them at the airport. And then they become one of the 22 a day.
Yeah.
On average, 22 veterans take their lives every day. Or, they come back. They They leave after one tour of duty, after one contract, and you're looking at a 24, 25-year-old homeless veteran addicted to meth or fentanyl, living on a street behind a cardboard sign, and basically being ignored because our government is more interested in putting hostile foreign invaders up in 5-star hotels than honoring the contract that they signed with our honorable servicemen and women.
Sadly, a lot of those soldiers got hooked while they were in service. Okay, because I remember during my time in the army was a little loosey goosey when it came to handing out that opioid candy. All right.
Yes.
I witnessed like soldiers turn into degenerate drug addicts, like in the barracks. All right, like my roommate, Wit, for example. Basically, a complete burnout on tramadol. All right, they're giving him tramadol in bottles like that look like it was like a movie theater popcorn. All right, size bottle of frickin' of tramadol. So I don't know what I hope they've cleaned up their act, but I'm pretty sure they did. But anyway, I don't know.
Opioids and Ranger candy.
Mm-hmm.
That's and that's what the casualties look like in the 5th generational information warfare. You have the suicides, you have the fall offs, the homeless veterans. A tornado zone of broken homes and families. Those are the modern casualties. As we move into the 6th generational AI warfare, you're going to see more of what Yuri Bezmenov warned us about at the end of the 70s, early 80s, the further aggressive demoralization. And understand that when we talk about the POWs, the MIA, and the KIA, you have to understand that is the scoreboard for the enemy. And our enemy today is fighting that war. Because make no mistake, we are currently engaged in war.
Correct.
Right? The idea that World War III is going to happen if Donald Trump does a bad tariff deal, or if Putin doesn't back down in Ukraine, or if Chairman what's his name, Winnie the Pooh,
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, Xi Jinping goes into Taiwan. Or the Indians and the Chinese explode, or the Indians and the Pakistanis explode, or the Jews kill too many Muslims, or the Muslims kill too many Jews, or the Jeets get their hands on a flipping nuke, and whatever happens. Guys, World War III is not about to begin. It has been ongoing. Essentially, since basically the election of Joe Biden was the first shot fired in World War III. Right? We went from, and I don't mean for this episode to get too far into politics generally, but under 4 years of Donald Trump, we had no new wars. We had drawdowns. And there may have been some mistakes, but like the Afghan drought disaster that happened under Biden, President Trump set up the deal to do that withdrawal. There was a plan in place. Biden came in, scrapped the plan, and rescheduled the pullout, announced the pullout to the world, which includes, yes, the enemy.
Yep.
And essentially, at that point, he did. There were two major things that Joe Biden did that created World War III. Sergeant Major says the Cold War was World War III, and I actually agree with that to an extent. And so maybe what we should call this current iteration of conflict is World War IV. That's a fair assessment there, Dad.
Well,
but the opening salvos when Joe Biden, we didn't lose American energy independence because Biden's bad policies caused us to slip behind what we had achieved under Donald Trump. We didn't lose American energy independence. Joe Biden and the Democrat Party chose to cut it off. They came in and just flipped the switch. They said, we are actively making the decision to not have American energy independence. And then when they took the money from shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline and American oil production generally, they took that money and they invested it in the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Essentially what they did was Joe Biden wrote a blank check to Vladimir Putin to initiate the conflict in Ukraine. And so Putin got to take that money and put it in his war chest. And then Biden took an absolute shit on the Afghanistan withdrawal. And that was a signal to all of our global antagonists. Hey, America does not have serious leadership. It does not have competent leadership. And the leadership in the United States does not have the confidence of the American people.
Yep.
Now, if you're going to do something, now is the time.
Well, the Biden administration being essentially Obama's third term, yes, it was a continuation of what Obama had done for 8 years, which was fuel wars, lay the groundwork for future wars. All right, so that we could intervene and relevant parties could get paid, could profit off of that war. All right, so yeah, if you look at I think it took me maybe like 10 months into the Biden administration. Okay, first of all, I was black-pilled to the extreme. All right, after that farce of an election, but I guess about 10 months into it, I instead of complaining about the incompetence of it, I suddenly realized, no, they're destroying everything intentionally. They're intentionally making everything worse so that somebody can profit in either the near or long term off of the wreckage. Basically, problem, reaction, solution, right? Isn't that the method?
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're talking about the fifth generation, sixth generation warfare. Okay. Now, when credit where credit's due, when Alex Jones talks about you are in an information war and the war is for your mind. Okay, he's absolutely correct. He is 100% correct. And with the advances in AI, didn't Google just come out with a new AI like this weekend?
VO3. It's primarily yes. It's not quite as salient. No, I take that back. It's actually very germane to the conversation. What VO3 is really about is video production.
Okay, yeah, because I did see
it's a little out of reach. It's a little out of reach for most. Basically, if you want to do VO3 video production, which by the way, I've seen some demos. It is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But you pay $120 a month, and you can do up to 4 8-second clips per day.
But it shows you where it's going. Yeah, it's kind of out of reach. But I mean, think about it. Like 4 years. Think about how rapidly AI technology is telescoping. You know what I mean?
In 1 year,
in the past 4 years,
you will be able to copy and paste a film script, a 120-page film script into the prompt box for VO3.
Yep.
It'll be VO5 or VO6 or something.
So we are rapidly moving into the world of photorealistic video, AI video, like on demand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, you'll be able to take a full film script. Have you ever read a film script?
Yeah, of course. The one that you
the format of a film script, conveniently, the way a film script is formatted. Let me just pull up an example film script to show everybody. This is actually germane.
Fever.
I don't have a copy of. I do have a copy of it. Anyway, that would have been fun, but I don't have it on hand. I'll just
But yeah,
pull up a random
it's
film
written
script
it's written
example.
like an AI prompt because it's supposed to sit setting the scene. You know what I mean? So, or in a way, I suppose.
Yeah.
Let me get that script, dog.
So when you see a film script, it looks like this. What the hell is that? I just want the example. Show it to me. Okay.
A nightmare of dead air.
So you see, scene 1, interior or exterior apartment complex, morning. Reveal a nondescript apartment complex in North Hollywood, California. It is not nice or ugly. It looks like every other pleasant looking apartment complex in the valley. Right? So let me see if I can copy paste that text. No, it won't let me copy and paste that from there. But you pop over to an AI, let's say ChatGPT, for example. Damn it.
Sure you want to do this live?
It's a new keyboard.
What is it doing? Just writing a script for you? As the audience maybe is probably aware, I am a Luddite, and therefore I do not dabble in such technologies. I view AI largely as Lucifer offering that second apple, and I don't want to take a bite.
In a lot of ways, I don't
First time.
disagree.
Yep.
In a lot of ways, I don't disagree, but it's going to take a minute. It'll take a minute to do it, but it'll just generate.
Right. Well, so what I wanted to mention was that given the advent of photorealistic AI video on demand, it's going to be increasingly difficult to determine what is and is not real. All right. And
right. We're going to see videos. We're going to see a video of Donald Trump walking out on a stage and saying, today I'm going to sign an executive order that commands the the individual National Guards of the U.S. states to round up and hang all the black men in America. And that video will be published on TikTok and YouTube and X. And, most of us will look at it and say, I don't think he said that.
Right. But younger people who don't know any better.
It will take one of them being that outlandishly unbelievable.
Right.
To have no one believe that it was true.
That's what I was going to say. Like, as far I took a few notes here, but anyway, some of the initial misuses of photorealistic AI will be for like racial hate crime related hoaxes.
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be a big one, and like
because as we've seen over the last 10, 12 years, all the big hate crime, the Bubba Wallace and the noose, the NASCAR noose. Obviously, Juicy Smollett, big one. Every time there's a big news story about a hate crime, it's a hoax.
Yep. But
because there just is not enough racism to supply the demand in this country. There's a huge demand for racism on the left because they think that's how they get votes. And to their credit, in all fairness to the Democrats, they're correct. It is the only way they can earn votes because if they talk about their actual policies, nobody votes for their bullshit.
I mean, I'm doing my best to provide as much racism as possible, but I'm only one man. Okay, so so my concern is that basically the younger generation, okay, Generation Alpha in particular. So our children,
all 40 million of them.
Yeah, our children. Our children's age children, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're about to be like thwarted or potentially demoralized by AI. All right, because I mean, they're going to grow up in a world where nothing is real. Okay, it's almost like Willy Wonka becomes reality. All right, um, where you don't know the difference between AI and reality. Um, there's no way to there's no way there really would be no way to know. I mean, how are you going to know if something is AI? I guess the only way would be if there was some kind of blockchain attached to whatever you created. You know what I mean, on AI. Um, but if that is the case, then that's going to be in the government's hands. The government's going to have the key. Like the 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 anonymity that blockchain provides is absolutely useless if the government controls all the keys for it. So that's going to be even a further erosion of civil liberties and freedom of speech, I believe. Um, I think I really do. I think it's like the apple. I think it's like Lucifer's second apple, and it's going to be offered for everyone to take. I dare say AI may even be may be that mark of the beast. Okay, that's prophesied. So, but yeah, Generation Alpha. I mean, you've got to. We have to reach the younger generations more than ever. All right, the Generation Z, the Zoomers. Okay, um, a lot of them are they're pretty tech savvy. Okay, they seem to be aware, but it's those generations that are the only ones worth like those generations, Alpha and the Zoomers. They're the only ones even worth trying to red pill at this point. Okay, I think people at our age. People at our age, you either got it, you either figured it out or you haven't. You're never going to be there. You know what I mean? Confirmed NPC. Um, but yeah, look at the
Sergeant Major
suicide.
thinks you need to have your head shaved again.
I know, he does. So he'll shave it, and if I do shave it, I'll just get the mustache. Okay, I'll do the Sunnydale. Okay, I'll do. But right, um, kind of rambling here, but it's almost like the Matrix could become reality. You know what I mean? Except instead of 1999, it's actually going to be 2029. So, um, I'm I for one fear our new AI overlords. And I don't know how we're going. I don't know what the appropriate response to this is going to be. You can't stop it.
Well, and one of the big
Those
problems
birds
with
have
AI,
flown.
one of the big problems with AI is largely it has been programmed by the products of Yuri Bezmen of the. Okay, there's too many prepositions in this thought pattern. Bear with me. Yuri Bezmenov predicted the outcome of Russian propaganda and psychological warfare against the American state as it used infiltration and propaganda to glorify and propagate promiscuity, drug use, homosexuality, uh, abortion, degeneracy, etc., for the purpose of demoralizing the American people. And,
Yeah.
and by demoralizing, he didn't mean he was very clear. He didn't mean to lower the morale of the American people, but rather to lower the morals of the American,
Yes.
to make them
Yes.
less moral, to make
It,
them
it,
less morally good,
yeah. It's
to make
basically
them more degenerate and less coherent and valuable. And the AI has largely been programmed by the products of that.
Yep. It's a critical theory, but Russian style. They called it disinformatia. All right. Um, basically, intentionally poisoning you with bad information that basically separates you from your traditions and your culture and your, you know, your ancestral ties. And that's what they did. Like it's like Yuri Bezmenov said, it only takes one generation. Once you've contaminated one generation, then the process is ongoing. It's basically it becomes a feedback loop. Um, like we talk about how many lost generations have we had? Um, basically, every generation since World War II has been an incremental loss to a degree, and it accelerates as time goes on. Um, with Generation Alpha, the Zoomer generation, I think that's it. Like if these people get demoralized, that's GG. You know, GG, good game, man. Like,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? I almost wish that, like, our generation, okay, I hope that there's some kind of destiny for us millennials. You know what I mean? Because we are that generation that saw the birth of the internet, and we saw like what it could be, what like an unrestricted free speech platform. Okay, warts and all, right? We came to love it, and then we came to also to see that that freedom being taken, the internet being commoditized and turning into just another corporate product, and that free speech wonderland disappearing. So it was born with and it died with us. And our generation is kind of just uniquely understands. Um, I think about the internet and about AI, say more than any other generation, and I kind of wish it would just die with us. You know what I mean? Um, I don't see the need for AI. I don't want it to exist. It's like what in The Rock, where Nick Cage is like it's one of those things we wish we could uninvent, but we can't.
Right.
That's
And I
how I feel
agree.
about AI.
Oh,
But then
I
again,
would,
I'm a Luddite, so whatever.
I would love to put that genie back in the bottle, but it cannot be done.
Yeah.
The,
Well,
the only hope for humanity in the war against having AI is global EMP.
yeah.
That's it. That's the
Yep.
only option there. And
We're over an hour.
since
So if
that
you
is
wanted
the
to wrap it
case,
up.
we cannot simply ignore it. We have to prepare to make use of the tools that it provides us to profit where we can from that, and more importantly, to be prepared against the threat that it presents. Because, like we were saying earlier, the Memorial Day remembrance, the casualties that we'll be memorializing in the future will look very different. They won't be, when I had to put a half a man on a helicopter and go back for his legs. There'll be childhood obesity. There'll be the degeneracy that prevents a young man from becoming a valuable husband and father. It it's the rat men. The Chinese call them the rat men, who never leave their homes. They, every meal they consume is delivered by something like DoorDash.
Oh, don't make fun of HC. Come on.
That's cold, man. But if the shoe fits,
Yep.
don't wear it because you didn't go anywhere. You're not leaving the house. You don't need shoes. Just wear good socks. You'll be okay.
Yep.
But yeah, the future of warfare is a terrifying thing. Give me an armed enemy that I can put bullets in any day of the week.
Yeah. Well,
I'd rather stack bodies than code every time.
Yep. Yeah, so would I. And I would rather, like I said, I'd rather be involved in a kinetic fight than involved with a fight where I'm trying to like console my daughter because someone made AI porn of her or some crap like that. You know what I mean? Like shit like that's coming on demand.
Yep.
And what's the first? Whenever we get a new technology, it seems, what's the first thing we do? We maximize it and utilize it for degeneracy, right? Like the internet is for porn, right? I mean, we joke about it, but it's true, and that's a real concern.
VHS had market success over Betamax because the porn industry chose to go with VHS instead of Betamax because the tapes were cheaper and it made for a better profit margin. Then you fast forward to the early 90s or mid 90s, and you've got two new competing technology. You've got laser discs and you've got DVD.
Guess which one's cheaper?
DVD won because it's hard to stick a lick to go into an adult bookstore and purchase your film, right? Everybody be more than happy to buy a copy of Die Hard on Laserdisc, but booty shaking mamas, You don't want that on a freaking vinyl record that's this big that you're walking through the mall with. Hey guys, look what I got! And even if you put it in a brown paper bag, people are looking at you and it's like, I know what that is, but it's a freaking DVD case, right? You just stick that in your pocket and nobody's the wiser. And so that won. Then, you fast forward to the early 2000s and you had HD DVD versus Blu-ray. And what happened? Microsoft went with HD DVD. PlayStation went with Blu-ray. So Microsoft said, we're gonna choose this technology because it's good for business. And PlayStation said, we're going to choose this technology because our audience will be interested in this. And so Blu-ray won out there, and it'll happen again. There will be some similar occurrence with the AI, and that will shape the future of warfare across the world, and it will predict the nature of our casualties going forward. So it's something that we have to pay attention to. So we have run way long this morning, which is a good thing because we got some hours to make up this month. Thanks for watching this morning, guys.
Hey, I hate to do this. Can I ask you one question though?
Absolutely.
So with AI, those companies that you like pay money that you subscribe to, where they give you like all that, like thousands of stock images, like they're basically done, right? AI ended that business model, right?
Not entirely. Not entirely yet. That we could have a whole conversation about that. And the fact is that most of those companies are beginning to adopt their own AI platforms, but there is AI video generation is going to kill those businesses.
Okay.
But it's not quite there yet. But I am not renewing my subscription to like Storyblocks, for example. That's $500 a year. I don't need to spend on stock material because AI can do the vast majority of it.
Yeah.
I mean, pop over here real quick and you can see, or actually, I'll pop over here. Like this is a primarily AI gem. This is a photograph of Arlington Cemetery and then the Soldier's Cross and the table here because I wanted them in the correct orientation and composition, both generated by AI. This was yesterday's thumbnail, obviously also AI. This is for a show that I'll be doing in a few days after a certain check clears a certain bank. And there's a lot of AI in that and Photoshop work. This, same thing here. This was AI.
Mm-hmm.
This is an AI image for a show about talking to the AI on the show. And I mean, the AI is very, very effective, very powerful, very useful tool. But you're correct. The AI is going to force most of those like stock footage, stock video, stock image companies. It's going to shove them out of business real quick. Aaron Olson says the AI religion is coming. As soon as AI is meaningfully encased in a physical form and made widely commercially available, if not before, but at the latest, as soon as that happens, as soon as we can go and take out what amounts to a car loan to buy an AI butler that's going to do the dishes and vacuum the floors and help with the yard work and everything. It's going to be civil rights. There will be a civil rights organization that is demanding that they have the same rights and privileges as American citizens, and that they have to be considered as separate intelligent entities. That will be another war.
I think by AI religion, what it's going to be more like people who choose to live their life in the AI. Okay, like you said, the guy, the rat man. Okay, the one who basically door dashes Uber eats all his food. You know what I mean? Doesn't leave the house. That's the first one that's going to plug in and basically waste away in a fantasy world. Okay, that's the AI religion. That's what I fear most.
Yeah.
But
all right, brother.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it there. Thanks for watching today, guys. Y'all be safe out there. I don't like to say Happy Memorial Day, but y'all enjoy your day off.
Yeah.
Right. There is some celebrating because while we memorialize and remember our fallen, our lost today, and for those of us who didn't fall, who came back, right? You've got a day off. You live in America. You're free. And we want you to celebrate that. Remember the fallen, but don't lose sight of what we gave it for. Some gave all gave some gave all. Remember what we gave it for. And that's so that you can be free, so that we can be free in America.
Be grateful for what you have. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys, we love you, and we will see you tomorrow.